belonging can't, essentially be a mechanism by which, people abuse and oppress you, and that you don't necessarily have to be in proximity with those folks who view you as their enemy.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, and still, you still have to hold them in a space of human concern.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this: how in the world can you do that?
Yeah. I'll tell you how it worked its way in me, because it wasn't something that I chose. It was actually a moment that found me, and many moments that found me that pushed me into that. And this is the question I feel like I get more from, those of us, if you haven't figured that out already. For me, you probably pick it up from reading the book. My politics are on the left.
I did not notice.
You didn't pick that up. All right. All that going to jail and protesting, well, that is kind of a right wing thing now, for different reasons. But, there's been a lot of questions, I think, and rightly so, from folks on the left that are saying, well, what are you really calling us to do? Why should we be a part of shaping a world that includes those who participate in our oppression in our circle of human concern? And for me, what I say that shaped me was, what pushed this inside me was my work doing gun violence prevention. Because when I was engaged in that work, there were mothers who were losing their children to gun violence, who were rightly saying that the loved ones who were, and that's what I call the young brothers that have been in the community participating in gun violence. It was coined by a brother named Kevin Grant from Oakland, where I was engaged in doing the work. But one of the things that, I had to hold was they were saying these young men that are participating and taking the lives of people in our community don't belong in the circle of human concern. We should lock them up. We should jail them. They took my son. I had to hold mothers in my arms. One mother in particularly in East Oakland lost both of her sons in the process of 21 days, right? One 13, another in his early 20s, right? And they're like, I'm looking at this woman crying. These brothers don't deserve to be here. And at the same time, by me being in relationship with brothers who were caught up in the cycle of gun violence, I realized that the conversation wasn't that simple. And so it wasn't that I needed to quiet or disappear the pain of the mothers who had been impacted by gun violence, but I had to think about how to serve as a bridge in that story that helped to ensure that their needs were in the circle of human concern, and at the same time recognize that the brothers who were participating in the gun violence needs also needed to be in the circle of human concern. And the more that conversation widened, then the conversation about policing came in. And some folks said, well, policing is a racist institution and we shouldn't care about the human beings that are a part of policing, until I got in deep relationship with a black brother who subsequently became the chief of police in the city of Oakland for a time. And he talked about the first young man who was ever killed on a high school campus was his brother. And the reason he got into policing was because he was a victim of trauma and violence himself. And so what it taught me was that we got to have a circle that's big enough, and some of us are going to have to serve as a bridge. Everybody doesn't have to do the same thing. Everybody needs to do something. And even if we think about a wide circle of human concern, it doesn't mean we all need to be proximate to each other. Because my get down is there's some people who their beliefs, the way that they want to live life, is so different and toxic and harmful to mine that I want to be on the opposite side of the circle of human concern as them. But I want to ensure that the circle is wide enough to include even them. Because the moment that I say that the price for inclusion for me is exclusion for them, I feel I have now allowed empire to make me into its own image. And now I've become another agent of empire with a different story. And I feel that if we're to get to liberation, liberation can't be for black folks to become the new white folks, for gay folks to become the new straight folks, for women to become the new men. There has to be an idea that we have as human beings, that we have an ability to be more than just primates that run around and fight for who gets to be in charge.